defensive linemen, who are your winners and losers from the Combine?
Yeah, I want to preface by saying this is winners and losers. We and I hand out winners and losers. It's like versus my expectation.
Sure.
If you want just the guys who tested out the best, go use relative athletic score. Like, go find that. Like, you can go look at the numbers yourselves and really find out who tested the best. But this is like how I felt based on their tape, and then who maybe exceeded my expectations based off of that. And then, in turn, we'll be rising up to PFF draft board because of it. The guys that I really want to highlight, because you stole two of the guys who I would have also highlighted. But Adetimiwa Adebawore, Northwestern DT.
I also specifically left him for you so that you would be the guy pronouncing his name, not me.
Yeah, it's very smart on your part.
Thank you.
And also an all-timer. An absolute all-time Combine performance. Truly maybe like the most impressive performance I've ever seen at the Combine.
I love this particular stat. There's a couple of them from NFL Research that he ran the same 40 time as Tank Dell, who was 165 pounds.
Yes.
That's madness. He's 100 pounds heavier. More than 100 pounds heavier.
17 pounds heavier.
Yeah, than Tank Dell, and ran the exact same 40 time. That's ridiculous.
Probably the single craziest 40 time I've ever seen. 4.49 at 282.
4.49.
And then a 37.5 inch vertical, 10.5 broad jump, 27 bench press reps with almost 34 inch arms. So he is, by any stretch, he's the most explosive defensive tackle testing wise ever. And it's not even particularly close. Like, he's Aaron Donald and then some at that size. I just in awe of those numbers. And like, you see it on tape, but he really doesn't have kind of I don't think he was given the freedom, truthfully, at Northwestern to really like just win or just really go after quarterbacks. He had to kind of fill his role in that defense. And a lot of times when he did play on the interior at Northwestern, which at that size you're going to play in the NFL. I don't think he's going to stay on the edge, even though that's where he played primarily at Northwestern. When he did play in the interior, he was kind of like a placeholder. Like, he would be the guy stunting. He would be the guy slanting. He kind of had to fill his role. He couldn't just beat the guard in front of him.
Is he actually the guy? What you're describing is effectively the excuses that were made for Trayvon Walker a year ago that might not have actually been true for Walker, but they might be true for this guy. Like, he was held captive by the defensive scheme, which essentially asked him to do things that weren't playing to his skill set.
Yes.
Whereas Trayvon Walker, maybe that was true, but maybe he also just wasn't great at rushing the passer.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true with Adebawore. He has the twitch to get by guys with that alone, but really just didn't utilize it fully on tape. So very excited to see, one, where he lands, two, what he kind of can develop into, because that is a athletic profile that you should be able to tap into.
The 4.49 thing is mind-blowing. Like, everything else is really impressive. Everything, like, the whole package is phenomenal. But running, like, a 4.49 is a fast time. Like, Tank Dell, okay, maybe it's a little bit disappointing for him, but, like, it's not a bad time at 165 pounds. For add another 120 to it, to run that is absolutely absurd.
Unbelievable.
Same kind of vein. I had Kalijah Kancey in there as a winner, just because he was already getting the obvious comps to Aaron Donald, because same size, same kind of athleticism, coming out of the same school. It's just too obvious a comp to make. And now he basically posted the exact same numbers as Aaron Donald across the board. It's only going to continue those comps. It's only going to continue to drive his stock higher, I think, because of that obvious precedent that Aaron Donald set, even if, as we've already discussed, like, he isn't Aaron Donald. But that's only going to help his draft stock, I think, given those kind of numbers he put up.
And again, if you're small, better be an elite athlete.
Right.
He's small. Well, he's also an elite athlete. All right, my other winner, it's got to be Lucas Van Ness. On tape, I talked about how he's like a unique player and a unique athlete in just how he plays. And I think he showed that at the Combine as well. Like, his testing was weird, to say the least. 6'5", 272, 34-inch arms, 11-inch hands. That's like lab-built defensive end frame for the kind of game he plays, a power defensive end. You want long arms. You want big hands. Control blocks. Get on, guys. That's his game. So those are box-ticking numbers. Great. And then he only had a 31-inch vertical and 9'10" broad jump. Those are like below average numbers, I'd say. But then he goes, I believe, 4.58 in the 40. On the screen it says 4.64. I believe that's a typo. It's 4.58. At 272 pounds. It is an insane time. And that's kind of just with the 1.64-10 split, another tremendous time. Like, his get off is unique for a dude that size, and that's really how he wins. So I think that's a performance that really backs up that the way he plays on tape at Iowa can translate to the NFL.
We got some breaking news before we get into the other stuff. Vikings are releasing Eric Kendricks.
Oh, I was hoping Rodgers got traded.
No, sadly not that breaking news. Eric Kendricks is a guy we talked about as being a potential cap casualty at some point. He's now the wrong side of 30, or is 30, I guess, which is the wrong side of 30.
31.
31.
Yes, the wrong side.
He's coming off a bad year. He's now presumably going into a defensive scheme, if he'd stayed there, that is the polar opposite of the one he was in before and the one he excelled in, and had a high cap number attached to him as well. There were a lot of things that were lining up to suggest that they might get rid of a guy like Eric Kendricks. So from that point of view, I think it makes sense, but potentially he's still one of the better linebackers available in free agency if you get the right scheme and you decide that last year wasn't the start of the end of his career, but actually just a bad season and a bad defense.
Yeah, I worry about linebackers on the decline usually because it's similar to running back and just the amount of hits you take that you decline physically without any real, you don't need massive injuries. You're just, your body's hurt. Your body is at that age as a linebacker, your body is going south. So yeah, I would be surprised if he gets anything more than like a throwaway deal in free agency.
Yeah, I think it's definitely scary anytime you are that wrong side of 30 and have a bad year. It's like trying to determine whether that was the start of it, and this is the end, or you just had a bad year. Yeah. Like that happens, right? I think is a difficult thing for teams to do. For the Vikings, it's obviously a no-brainer. Like you can just use that as an excuse, therefore, to jettison the guy and go in a different direction. But for another team, trying to determine if this is a potential bargain out here can improve our defense, or a guy you don't want to bring in because he's already on the downslope, that I think is a tough thing for teams to do. So, all right, there's our breaking news. Where else have we got? Any more defensive linemen we wanted to talk about?
Well, you want to talk about Nolan Smith because you got the two undersized guys who are.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, right? He had just an incredible workout. I think everybody thought that would happen anyway. So, maybe he's not a winner relative to expectations, but he came out there as an undersized guy, under 240 pounds, which I've seen some people argue was the most relevant number he put up during the week. He is that small. But if you're going to be that small, get in the 4.3s, 4.3, 940. Have a 10-yard split of 1.5, which is a wide receiver kind of number. Post the kind of workout numbers that he did to say, yes, I am this small, but look, it's worth it. Like I'm bringing the other things to the table that make it worth your while. He's an undersized speed edge rusher, but he's got ability to play the run. He's got some power, and he put out a pretty impressive workout overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's more about the ability. Size matters, don't get me wrong, but it is more about your ability to generate power and explosiveness. Because like at 238 with the numbers he put up, and again, that 238 is good weight because he's listed at 235. So he's up from whatever he was listed at Georgia. Like we said, I think we had this conversation with
and worked out. So it's not like Bryce Young's weight where
I'm
going to put on as much weight as humanly possible and then not sit here and not move.
Yeah. But he puts on, just say, a 10-pound lead jacket tomorrow. He's still running sub 4.5. Right. He's still jumping like 36 inches, 37 inches. He's still an explosive dude.
It's a drill I'd like to see.
The 10-pound weighted jump. Yeah. I mean, like, he can get up to a good weight and still be an elite athlete.
And I think, obviously, you got to talk about Jalen Carter as a loser. I mean, not for workouts, but during the combine, the man got sent home to deal with an arrest warrant. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah, hard to do worse unless you're who was the Alabama
There have been some pretty spectacular. Yeah, Reuben Foster got sent home for basically intimidating the medical staff,
fighting the med staff,
right, during his medicals. Maurice Hurst got sent home with a heart condition. That's pretty bad. Orlando Brown went through his workouts, but it was basically the worst workout known to man. So that was pretty bad. But that's your top 5. Essentially, worst combines of all time, and he's in that.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to weigh it. I think maybe Hurst's was probably the worst, where it's like, hey, you might die if you play this game.
That's bad.
That's a bad combine.
Although I did remember making a joke at the time that Orlando Brown had the worst combine of the year, including Maurice Hurst. So technically, I've already ranked Brown ahead of Hurst for how bad it was.
Brown did fall. I mean, they all fell probably more than Carter's going to fall if we're keeping it real here.
Right.
Like Carter, when you're that talented, GMs will make excuses for your bad behavior. It's a fact of life. It's been, it's been the way the NFL's operated since the inception.
There's also enough time for them to get cover. Like if this gets worked out between now and the draft and it ends up being whatever the punishment for the misdemeanors is, fines, community service, blah, blah, blah. Once there's a legal bow put on that, that's like the green light for NFL teams to go, it's done.
He served his term.
Right. It's done now.
He did
right.
the
It's
time.
all worked out. Like now we're just taking a guy who we know has got blah, blah, excuse it that way. Like if it happened days before the draft, all of a sudden you've got the whole thing is already a burning inferno of PR that you got to navigate.
I'm already looking forward to the GM press conference post, whoever drafts him. Just the word salad we're going to get served.
I hope they use ChatGPT.
What should I ChatGPT be a GM who just drafted a player who
justify
is
the
going to
drafting of Jalen Carter in the top 5 in the style of whatever GM is relevant. Have you got any losers? I have both the Carters, in fact, Jalen Carter and Andre Carter, Andre Carter obviously didn't have an arrest, but didn't have an insane workout, which I think a lot of people would have been expecting.
Yeah, I had Mike Morris. He didn't test well. Came in underweight. Came in like 275. But I do want to hammer home that Andre Carter, that was ugly. Now his shuttle was very good, 4.36. But I want to know who even told him to do the bench press when he did 11 reps. You don't all of a sudden be like, I've been doing 20 all week. Now 11. I hit 11. No, like he probably at best was doing like 14, 15. And if you're a defensive end, 14, 15 is abysmal. And you see it on his tape. Like that is the unique thing about Andre Carter, is that there's a valid excuse for why he's built like a defensive end recruit and not, already a defensive end prospect. It's that he's taking, 2 months or so out of every single year to run and train to be in the Army and not actually care about
the Army, right?
Being 270 with his frame and a powerful defensive end. It's like why Army runs
11 reps.
They can't hold on that weight.
11 reps is the kind of number where you're better off just not doing the bench period than putting up 11 reps.
Yeah.
Like you're way better just saying, let's just assume it's not a good number and move on.
Yes.
Than actually giving them the number relevant and having it written there.